Ladies and gentlemen, it's day 55 of our chess journey to 1500 ELO on chess.com. Now let's just jump on ahead into our game today and find an opponent. We get Richard Urbano from the Philippines. We'll start out with 1d4. And I think today I would like to play a Queen's Gambit kind of position. I haven't had time to look more into the English opening yet. We get the Budapest Gambit. Funnily enough, I looked at this. I didn't look at this seriously the other day, but I know this was a move. Honestly, I would like to just accept this and see where this goes. This seems interesting. Our opponent jumps in. I would have liked to argue for this move, but this does not look good. This is an interesting knight jump at least. This is definitely not a move. We don't want to weaken ourselves. Honestly, we might just develop our knight here and prepare for e4, defending this pawn, and developing our bishop, I think. And this also defends this square in case the bishop comes in. There might be an argument for a3 here. I didn't see this until I had played the move, but through playing logical developing moves, we often dodge annoying threats. Well, this too is a threat, but it seems quite superficial considering we have this move. But also I'm thinking, don't we have an idea of coming in here, for example? Can our opponent defend this knight? Because this does look like a fork. We can't do this just straight away, I think, because then they do come in here. So we'll have to play this first, and now we do have this threat of forking, I guess. Our opponent can't quite play this because we have en passant. Castles may be a move. I'm not quite sure as to what the critical approach here is. I am liking the idea of an attack here. Now this move, don't we still have this fork? They can defend this bishop, right? If they defend the bishop, the knight hangs. So what's really hanging here is the knight. It can't be defended like this because of our knight, and it can't be defended like this because of en passant. So I'm pretty sure this wins material. Actually, it doesn't. Simply because of this in-between check here. So could we play a3 here? Because this move our opponent just played, I guess, also seeks to jump in here potentially and just swarm us with minor pieces. Then we can grab space and potentially dislodge our opponent's pieces here. I think this serves a whole lot of purposes, so I'd like to play this, and then we'll see what our opponent does. I'm honestly expecting castling, and then if they castle, then I think that's going to be a mistake, because of this move we have been looking at for a few moves. We have kind of boxed in both of our bishops here, which is not quite ideal as of yet, but I'm suspecting we will be able to get them out eventually. we are after all playing in a new opening here called the Budapest Gambit. I haven't played this before, but I did randomly look at this through an analysis board the other day. Now this move doesn't respond to our threat here. I just want to make sure this move works, because if it does, we should be in a dominating position. I guess our opponent is afraid of b4 and misses this move. I still don't see a way of defending the knight. Let's come up and hit our opponent. Just want to make sure there are no tactics here. Well, I'm not seeing any. There might be this move. And then coming back here, and I guess they would have some compensation, but we would still be up a piece. Well, if we do get this and this, our opponent could potentially defend like this, I think. This should defend both pieces, but at the cost of... yeah, it would expose their king quite a lot, and it would cost them a pawn. An important pawn as well, because this will expose their king long term. Well, honestly, it might actually help our opponent, I'm noticing, because they will get activity with the rook immediately. So this might not be as decisively winning as I thought it was. But do we have an alternative here? I'm honestly not seeing a good alternative to capturing and allowing this move. Then we might just come in with our bishop here, as long as our queen can't get trapped. The bishop is still going to be locked in a cage. This knight can't move to either square here. And this knight... no, I'm actually realizing this is definitely not playable. This drops the queen. So this might actually be pretty good, in which case I would be quite happy. So I guess our opponent is looking for a refutation here. And as I mentioned, I'm not quite seeing one, as long as this move f5 doesn't work. So honestly, I'm expecting castles to be the best move, just accepting the lost piece and developing. And then we will be up a piece and a pawn. And that should be a pretty decisive advantage. We would just want to trade down and convert our advantage. This knight here, I'm noticing, is actually trapped. Or this square might actually be possible to move to because of the queen. But apart from that, it can't really move to any other squares. Simply because of this pawn, our opponent gave us an e5 as part of this Budapest Gambit. So it seems like we are likely to be decisively winning here on move 7. Let's capture and see what our opponent plays. As I mentioned, this should not be a move, I'm pretty sure. And now we also have this open file here. There might be some check ideas, but honestly the most important thing is getting the piece first. But still, I am going to look at checks like this. We don't have this because of the knight here though. This might be the best move. But are we able to grab another pawn then? No, probably not. We should grab the knight, because in the following position our opponent can defend the knight with either the rook here or the queen when the king here vacates the e8 square. Luckily we played this a3 move because we are dodging a lot of potential threats now. This move is also doing us a lot of favors, blunting the bishop and killing off this attack here as well. So I think the pawn moves here have been massively important to us. We are still situated in the middle of the board here though, which is not necessarily ideal. We get queen takes, and now I think we should just pick up the piece. No reason to think too much about it. This comes with a check as well. I'm hoping for the queen block so we can trade material, but probably the best move is one of those moves here. And then preparing castling. But if our opponent castles, then let's say they block with a knight, then that might be a mistake. Because in this position, this sure does look like a fork to me at least. So there are still some tricks here where we could win some material, which would be pretty nice, but still we do have a good position, so it wouldn't be necessary. This is also looking quite juicy, coming in with several threats at the same time here. It seems here, to me at least, the configuration of our pieces just works out perfectly. The bishop blocks, I guess our opponent might have seen this, or the fork rather, but now this, and this doesn't look all that fun for our opponent either. They can't even prevent us from playing this, I think. The knight can't access those squares, so it can't target this. I'm not seeing a good reason as to why we wouldn't go for this. This would be an immediate fork of two pieces, and also a fork of this idea here as well. This looks crushing. So if castles, we get this. They will have to move the queen, and then we can actually take the bishop with our queen. Well, not with our queen. That would lose us our advantage, but we could take with the knight, and I guess our opponent will pin us with the rook. So we would have this. At castles, we go here. They move the queen. I'm not quite sure they have any threats with the queen. So let's just say a random square here. Maybe here defending this. We take, it's a check. They go here. And I guess we just keep on developing. Now we still have this diagonal open if needs be. There might even be an argument for pushing this pawn at some point to open up this idea. I think this is the best move because it parries this threat as well. But let's have a quick look here. If we get this, I'm pretty sure this is first. They don't want to trade queens. We go here, this is a check, they take, and this is a fork which forces the queen trade. They take, we take, and I guess we have a powerful center as well. And this diagonal is going to be open for our bishop at some point. I'm not seeing a good reason as to why we wouldn't go for this, because this does seem crushing. Yeah, this doesn't quite work. But well, we do have a massive advantage. We can just keep on going with our development here. This seems to be an okay move. We just want to make sure here, though, our opponent doesn't have a massive threat against us. This does come with a threat here. This would be checkmate. But I'm not seeing a good follow-up move after this, for example. So let's bring out more pieces instead. This is an immediate threat as well as a developing move. It would hit this pawn. It will leave this bishop a bit weak though. Just want to make sure after playing this move our queen can't get dislodged from the defense of our bishop. But honestly, I'm not quite seeing how that would happen. So I think we would like to develop this bishop with some kind of tempo here, forcing a defensive maneuver. And if our opponent plays this, for example, then this is once again going to be a queen trade. Now this pawn is weak for a second here, but that should not pose many troubles for us at least. Luckily as well, this bishop here can't get into the game, and by extension it might be difficult to get the rook and a8 into the game. This pawn can't be pushed, and neither can this pawn. So currently our opponent is playing with 3 pieces. I mean, we don't have a lot more pieces as of yet. No, we don't really have a lot of pieces, but our development is going to be easier. It's going to be easier for us to bring more pieces into the game than it's going to be for our opponent. I'm really hoping for this move. Our opponent might be a bit afraid of playing this, because it will weaken their diagonal. This doesn't seem like a fun time for our opponent. Then we might play this more modest move. Instead of b4, simply to get our bishop onto this diagonal, and this does seem like crushing pressure. So what would I play here though? Because this threat has to be parried, and I'm not quite sure this works. No, we can't really come down here though with the bishop because of the knight and the queen as well actually. But this would be a welcome sight as well, I think. it would open more weaknesses around their king. I'm liking this idea soon as well. I don't want to castle immediately though, because our opponent can try to create some threat against our king, which probably wouldn't work considering their lack of pieces. But why go into the trouble of risking anything when we can avoid it? So I'm trying to formulate a good plan here in response to h6. But we get this move instead. This does look like a mistake to me. But why? Why does this look so wrong? I'm honestly not quite sure. I guess it's just because this diagonal opens up. This does allow our opponent to grab this potential outpost, but that would allow for this fork, at least now. We do still have a decent time advantage here, so we can try to think up some ideas. I'm not seeing a good maneuver for this knight now. We could obviously slide on over here and go like this, but we wouldn't want to hang our bishop. Now though, no, this is not a threat because of the pawn. I was afraid of getting dislodged from this defense of the bishop because we couldn't have defended like this. This is either going to be our move, playing for this. I think this and this might force a queen trade. But that's going to assume our opponent doesn't play any moves in between that, and that's honestly quite unlikely. We don't have to rush with the development of the king. I think b3 seems to be quite good enough, as long as our opponent can't quite play on this diagonal, because this would force us to move the rook, but then they can come in here and cause troubles. Or could they? No, this doesn't work, because we have this move intercepting their queen. And then we can play for this, which does look annoying to play against at least. Let's come up here then. This immediately takes advantage of our opponent's last move. I would like to play this and come up here as well. Can we sack the pawn in the following position? Honestly, we might be able to do so. Let's see what our opponent plays first, and then we can... well, if the queen moves though, they might push here to intercept. So I'm not quite sure. We'll have to see how our opponent plays first. This is a pretty fun game so far, at least. This knight is still quite weak because it's only defended by the queen, but this doesn't dislodge the queen from the defense though. There might be an argument here for playing a rook to a6 to get the rook into the game, because this bishop is not going to come out anytime soon. What would we play here? This would be our move. Forking the queen and the rook. I am pretty sure that should be the best idea. Just want to make sure this doesn't fail though, because here and here, what happens if they come in like this? No, our opponent goes for this, but as I mentioned, I'm not seeing their follow-up here. And this might even be a better move for us, because it comes with a dual threat. But I don't think grabbing this pawn is going to be good for us though. I'm pretty sure this pawn grabbing here would hurt our position. But this, I think, forces the queen trade, because it will be difficult to defend this knight after our move, I think. Then the queen would have to go passively back to this or this square, which should be pretty good for us. Just want to make sure there are no other threats. I'm not seeing any. Let's come up here. And now let's say our opponent goes back here. We could just keep on adding pressure. And actually this move might be a mistake by our opponent, because this hits the queen, and it should force a queen trade, or the queen would have to go all the way back here, in which case this comes with another checkmate threat, and their position does seem to crumble in that following sequence. Well, the second here, I think we get the queens off the board, we should win. But honestly, our queen is probably objectively speaking, much better than our opponent's. So I don't think the computer is going to bless our move here. But it's going to take away all counterplay for our opponent though, so we will be playing risk-free, which is my preferred style. As I mentioned, nothing seems to work here for our opponent. This is the only way of defending the knight and avoiding a queen trade. Now this doesn't work, I'm realizing, because of this. Yeah, I'm honestly a bit surprised by this move. But I guess our opponent is arguing they get the bishop out now, and they will double up the rooks here perhaps. I mean, it's a smart idea. It's definitely a good move. We'll trade, I think. Here, and we can even queenside castle. I'm expecting this move perhaps, but it does seem quite superficial. Let's see, this, and the rook probably just slides back to f7. I guess we're going for this. Comes with a tempo, and and it looks like a good move in general. This is an interesting move to me, but what happens after this? I would like to grab this diagonal though. How about knight to g5? This does seem to force the rook all the way back, but is that going to help us? Probably not. So there is still a question of which side we are castling to. I would like to start out with an interesting move here. h3, potentially preparing a kingside pawn storm, giving luft in case we castle kingside and preventing this good developing square for our opponent's bishop, because now all those squares here are seeming pretty horrible. I am still eyeing this pawn here. This. But honestly, this move now. Now this would be a fork. So we might be able to get this diagonal. I'm expecting the capture here, simply because our opponent doesn't want their structure to be broken apart. This threatens a skewer, and it also threatens this if they take. This might not be the best move once again, but I'm liking the tactical complications here. After all, we are up a lot of material, so I think we are allowed to play like this right now. This does seem to be the more obvious threat, but this is just a bit extra. So I'm honestly not sure this threat of ours is avoidable here though. This doesn't work. This doesn't work. They play here, but now we have this move. Actually, we have this, which seems even better. They can't go here. I'm really liking this move, and we still have this. I'm not afraid of this pawn capture. This is a tactically loaded position, and our opponent does not have the time to play this out properly. This is an idea, coming in here and hitting them. They do go pawn grabbing. This still wins material for us. Now we come up here, and I'm pretty sure our opponent's position is just dead. Now we can castle kingside. Just want to make sure we don't have any better ideas here. No, I think we need more pieces. Another good thing here is both of our bishops are standing behind our opponent's pawns, so they can't easily be hit with rook moves. Now I think we just move on to some of the files here, either the open ones or the semi-open ones. This hangs a pawn in one move. This is our follow-up. It's not going to win material for our opponent. I think they're starting to crumble. Or continuing, rather. If they go here, we just come here and trade bishops. And all trades are going to favor us. This is a great outpost as well. Our bishop is definitely not only worth 3 points there, I'm pretty sure. Now we can get this bishop onto this outpost. Actually, this knight might be a bit annoying. Well, it's not the end of the world, I think. This looks interesting. This rather. Our opponent can go here. Then we will get this simplification. And I'm pretty sure at the end of the line we threaten winning the bishop here. Because of our powerful dark squared bishop. We might see that line, which is what I expected with this knight move, but they might also just try to grab this outpost. No, they do go back. So I guess we just take here. And this should win us the game, I'm pretty sure. We could see this. Yeah, they do play on. But honestly, if we just come in here, we still threaten the bishop. And I'm not seeing a good response. We don't have to trade material here. The bishop is still pinned. And as long as we stay on this diagonal, the rook can't defend it. So let's see here. They can go here though. I mean, sure, we can just trade. We are up a full rook. I'm not seeing why we should not just convert our advantage. Is this the best move here though? It might actually be, because we are going to lose a rook here. Or the bishop. Yeah, this is better. They will take, and now this is decisively winning. I think I want to play with pawns like this, so our opponent's rook can't do anything alone. And then we come onto the 7th file here, or rank, and that should be the end of it. Like this. And our opponent did push the pawns, so I guess we have an idea of coming in here, for example. There is probably a much quicker way of winning this. It doesn't really matter all that much though, as long as we make sure there are no weaknesses for us. I'm pretty confident this is going to be pretty smooth sailing. I am looking at this, which should force a king move, defending this pawn. And then we can move our other rook to join the attack. I'm honestly a bit I'm a bit surprised rather our opponent is still playing on it at this point, but I'm not going to blame them for doing so. This might be a way of defending the pawn here. If they come down, we come up here to our ideal square for our king, I think. And this would mean this pawn falls to this move. Now they can't intercept coming in here on g4. Which would have probably not worked either way because we had this idea dislodging it. There might be some ladder mate here as well. I'm not seeing an immediate one. So let's just grab material. This is winning either way. Well, our opponent flags here, and we win the game. This brings us up to 1391 ELO. So we are almost back up to 1400. Thanks for the game. I see we didn't make any mistakes here according to the chess.com mistake blunder misses thing. I guess it's part of the game review. So according to the game review here at least, but this doesn't always say the same as the game review once we click in on it. Let's have a look. We actually had a pretty decent game today, I'm seeing. 92.1 accuracy, and our opponent played with 84. So they apparently lost the game because of 4 inaccuracies. So they actually played quite well today as well. I guess we just had a pretty good day and found the right moves. Still, I think we might find some alternatives for us, as not all of the moves were the best recommendations. This, and I want to see what the analysis says here. And there we go. This is new to me. I guess it's a new feature they might have added. This is pretty good for us. This was good. They missed. But this does confuse me though. Why does our opponent play the Budapest Gambit when they make an inaccuracy on, is this move 4? Yeah, move 4. I would expect them to probably know the opening better if they play it, but they might just say, okay, I don't want to play any opening theory, let's just play some obscure opening, and neither me nor my opponent is going to know the theory, so let's just play chess. Which I would expect. I would respect that mindset. Not everyone wants to memorize opening theory. We went here. This was the best move, and this fork was best. We went like this, got the piece. All best moves. This was not the best, but pretty close. We went out here. I guess the computer wanted more. Yeah, this. Honestly, I'm seeing why the move is okay. But why wouldn't we want to grab the activity though? I guess the main reason I'm seeing in hindsight might have been because this bishop is a bit loose. Because it's only defended by our queen. And the computer might maybe argue we want a rook on this file and not a bishop. Well, still we went like this. The computer wanted to go back, which means this was probably the ideal square. This too was pretty good. But why was this better? D6 here. And this, doesn't this just transpose? we went here, but now the best move is an immediate capture. I guess this square for our knight is not that good, and this comes with tempo on our knight, which makes sense, I guess. But we went like this. I really liked this move, but it was not the best move. I'm not seeing an arrow though. What is our best move here? It's this move, which I did look at it though, but I didn't quite see the idea after this. I guess it just immediately prevents our opponent from adding pressure and doubling rooks, because this rook is first back. Well, this worked as well. We got this. What was the best move here? Apparently not taking the rook. Yeah, I think I prefer material here. I guess I can see the activity as an argument here. This is more concrete though. We castled, took the free pawn, went up like this, and this was all good for us. Here, I mean, it doesn't really matter at this point. Pretty much all moves are equivalent. Here, all good moves. And at this point, our opponent ran out of time, and we won our game. So well, that's our game for today, guys. Thanks a lot for watching, and I hope to see you all tomorrow. Bye bye!